Alex stood at the observation deck of the Celestial Wanderer, watching his wife Jennifer approach the docking bay through the transparent aluminum viewport. Even after 3 cycles of marriage, the sight of her still filled him with a complex mixture of emotions, love certainly, but also a lingering thread of concern that he couldn't quite shake. As of Alex belonged to a species that had conquered gravity wells and bent space-time to their will. His people were tall, their crystalline bone structure making them naturally resilient to the harsh conditions of space travel. Jennifer, by contrast, was human, soft, fragile. Her species had barely reached their own moon before making first contact, and their bodies seemed woefully inadequate for life beyond their planetary cradle. His family had warned him. Humans break easily, his mother had said, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with worry. Their bones are hollow compared to ours, their skin tears like wet paper, and they require such specific environmental conditions to survive. But Alex had fallen in love anyway. Jennifer's quick wit, her boundless curiosity, and the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about the stars had captured him completely. Still, he'd kept her planetside, kept her safe, while he worked the trade routes between systems. It was better this way, he told himself, until today the company had mandated that all crew families join the 6-month expedition to the Andromeda Relay. No exceptions. Alex had spent weeks ensuring Jennifer's quarters were perfect temperature controlled to the exact range humans needed, atmospheric composition precisely calibrated, padding installed on every sharp corner. Jennifer floated through the airlock, her movements clumsy in zero gravity. Alex rushed forward to help her, but she waved him off with a laugh. "I've got this," she said, though she clearly didn't. Tumbling awkwardly before catching a handhold, the first crisis came. 12 hours into the journey, the ship's gravitational stabilizer malfunctioned, plunging them into violent oscillations that sent crew members crashing into bulkheads. Alex, designed for such conditions, managed to wedge himself into a corner. Through the chaos, he saw Jennifer, and his heart seized with terror, but instead of panicking, Jennifer had already moved. She'd grabbed a toolkit and was pulling herself hand over hand toward the engineering shaft, her small size letting her squeeze through spaces the Valorian crew couldn't access. Alex watched in astonishment as she disappeared into the maintenance crawlway. "Jennifer, no. Come back," he called through the comm system. "Little busy, honey." Her voice crackled back. "This coupling is loose. Just need to a grunt of effort. Tighten it." The oscillation stopped. The ship's gravity reset smoothly. Jennifer emerged 15 minutes later, covered in hydraulic fluid, grinning like she'd just won a prize. The chief engineer, a grizzled Valorian named Kresh, stared at her in disbelief. "How did you know what to do?" "Grew up fixing tractors on a farm," Jennifer shrugged. "Same principle, bigger scale." That was just the beginning when radiation from a nearby pulsar began overwhelming their shields. It was Jennifer who suggested rerouting power through the secondary Forza, trick she'd read about in an ancient human naval manual about submarines. It worked perfectly. When the food synthesizers broke down and the crew faced starvation, Jennifer disappeared into the hydroponics bay and emerged 3 days later with edible mushrooms she'd cultivated from spores she'd smuggled aboard in my pocket because they looked cool. When a hostile ship approached and demanded tribute, Jennifer walked onto the bridge and simply asked, "Have you tried talking to them in their own language?" She proceeded to negotiate in flawless having apparently learned it from language files while everyone else was sleeping. But it was during the meteor storm that Alex truly understood. The Celestial Wanderer took a hit that ruptured the medical bay, exposing it to vacuum. 3 crew members were trapped inside, injured, with Medical Officer Tellen bleeding out from a severed artery. The blast doors were jammed. They had minutes. Alex froze, calculating rescue scenarios, each more impossible than the last. Jennifer didn't calculate. She acted. She grabbed an emergency suit not designed for humans. Far too large, and before Alex could stop her, she'd cycled through the airlock into the exposed section. Through the cameras, he watched her wrap her entire body around Talon, using her own suited form as a pressure seal while she applied emergency coagulant to the wound with her free hand. "Jennifer, you'll die," Alex screamed. "Not today," she grunted back, her voice strained but steady. "Humans are really good at not dying. We're stubborn like that." She held that position for 8 minutes, an eternity, in vacuum while the engineering team cut through the blast doors. When they finally pulled her back inside, her suit was damaged, she was hypothermic, and she'd suffered minor decompression injuries. She was also smiling. "Tellen good?" she asked through chattering teeth. "Stable," the medical team confirmed. Jennifer nodded. "Cool. Can someone get me some hot chocolate? I think there's some Earth stuff in storage." That night, as Alex held his wife in their quarters, carefully tending to her injuries, he finally understood. Humans weren't weak. They were something his species had never needed to be: adaptable. Valorians were built for space. Humans had clawed their way into it through sheer determination. They broke easily, yes, but they also healed. They improvised. They endured. They were survivors. "I'm sorry," Alex whispered. Jennifer looked up at him, confused. "For what?" "For thinking you needed protection," she laughed, that bright sound that had made him fall in love. "Oh honey, I don't need protection. I need adventures." She kissed his crystalline cheek. "Good thing I married someone who can show me the stars." Around them, the Celestial Wanderer hummed through the void, carrying its crew toward the Andromeda relay. In the mess hall, the crew gathered, swapping stories. In every story, there was Jennifer the human who seemed fragile, who seemed weak, until she didn't.